Thank you.
Bienvenido.
Thank you, muchas gracias. Bueno, todo esto es muy inspirador, escuchar tantas importantes acciones que están llevando a cabo los alcaldes de C40 y en el planeta para luchar concretamente contra el cambio climático. Los discursos que hemos tenido esta mañana, todos los paneles de hoy han demostrado que se han puesto en marcha muchísimas acciones. Ya lo sabemos, las ciudades están midiendo el volumen de emisiones, estableciendo también objetivos de reducción, porque como suele decir nuestro amigo Mike Bloomberg, si no puedes medirlo, tampoco puedes gestionarlo. No es, además de extrañar, que fuera él quien creara y lanzara el Compact of Mayors junto a Ban Ki-moon en el 2014. Esta iniciativa, que se ha fusionado con el Covenant of Mayors de la Unión Europea para convertirse en Global Government of Mayors for Energy and Climate. Es una herramienta fundamental que permite mostrar cómo las ciudades están marcando concretamente la diferencia. Hoy, más de 7.000 ciudades se han comprometido con la iniciativa y París está muy orgullosa de haber cumplido con todos los requisitos sin la menor excepción, tal y como han hecho varias otras ciudades de nuestra red del C40. Para todo esto, hoy mi querida amiga Christiana Figueres, que asume el puesto de vicepresidenta ejecutiva del Global Covenant of Mayors, está aquí con nosotros. La noticia me alegra mucho porque ella tuvo un papel instrumental en ofrecernos el proyecto más esperanzador en la lucha contra el cambio climático de prácticamente las últimas 2 décadas, el influente Acuerdo de París, que te debe muchísimo, querida Christiana. Es una líder, una mujer muy inspiradora, porque nos muestra que muchas cosas son posibles, aunque a priori los obstáculos parezcan insalvables. Pero aquí está Christiana Figueres. Querida Christiana.
Buenas tardes a todos. Y muchísimas gracias, Anne, por esas lindas palabras. Today is the first day that I'm assuming a new role with mayors and with cities. And after 6 years of working directly with national governments and struggling to open the doors to cities and to mayors, it is wonderful to now join your ranks. And I am quite delighted to be here with you today. And in that role, I would like to thank the Alcalde of Mexico, Miguel Ángel Mancera. Thank you very, very much for your hospitality here to everyone. And thank you to Eduardo Paez for fantastic leadership of C40 over the past few years. And of course, to my good friend, Anne Hidalgo, who now today assumes the presidency and the chairmanship of C40. I have to tell you, Anne, and I've been quite public about this, you can imagine the limitless number of photographs that came out of COP21 in Paris. I have never seen as many photographs, but there was one photograph that was absolutely my favorite photograph, and that if you haven't seen it, I very much encourage you to look it up, and that is the photograph in your home, not your personal home, but your institutional home. And with Anne's institutional home is one of the most beautiful buildings in Paris, and there is a absolutely humongous, almost limitless staircase that was filled to the brim with mayors, with the 1,000 of mayors that you hosted together with Mike Bloomberg. And it really, when I saw that photograph, I knew that we would get a Paris Agreement. So thank you very, very much for the support that all of you put in for the Paris Agreement, not just to get an agreement, but to get an ambitious agreement, because that is what the world needed. And I would like today to congratulate, of course, Mike Bloomberg and Maros Sefcovic, Vice President of the European Commission, for their vision and their leadership in creating the global covenant of mayors, building on the fantastic experience of the various groups of cities and mayors that have come together throughout the years, C40 already for 10 years, throughout the years to work on climate change, and now the vision and leadership of both Mr. Bloomberg and Mr. Sefcovic to build on that, to come together to the global covenant of mayors. We have heard today how cities are where the people are. We have heard how cities are where the emissions are. And we have heard how cities are where the solutions are. All of that converging in cities. Now, I would like to emphasize, however, that cities are where the solutions are, but not just the solutions to climate change. Perhaps more directly and more importantly, the solutions to the quality of life of the citizens in urban areas. And that is why we are working. Yes, of course, also for climate change, but we need to ensure that everything that we do in urban areas is actually for the betterment of the quality of life of the citizens today, and that will also have a beneficial effect on the quality of life tomorrow. So are we actually on the right path to do so? Well, I used to live until just about 48 hours, I used to live in Germany. And German has a fantastic word that unfortunately only exists in German, but I shall ensure that it now will exist in every other language. And that word is Jein, which means both yes and no. And Anne, would you agree that we Latin Americans should definitely have that? Because we always say yes and no to every question. So we must invent this word in every language. So are we on the right path? Yes, for a couple of reasons, and no for a few other reasons. The reasons why yes. I would volunteer at least 4 reasons why we are on the right path. The first, because the economic case for reducing emissions and becoming more resilient, both from the perspective of subnational and national governments, but also from corporations, is absolutely clear. From the perspective of citizens, the arguments for improved health, improved transportation, safer energy, better waste management, etc., are absolutely compelling. So the economic case is absolutely clear. The business case from a corporate point of view is absolutely clear. The cost-benefit ratio has tilted dramatically in favor of benefit and away from cost. Second reason why we are on the right path, because the financial sector is beginning to understand that that cost-benefit ratio has tilted and is beginning to understand the risks of not shifting the capital flows toward clean technology. In fact, renewable energies in several of the technologies have now decreased so much that they are totally competitive with fossil fuel equivalents. And in fact, we are beginning to see that the lifespan of fossil fuel investments is actually becoming much shorter than the payback period of those investments, meaning those assets are becoming stranded. So from a financial sector point of view, a compelling imperative. The third has already been addressed by Anne Hidalgo this morning, and that is the rise of female leadership. And let's hear it for the women leaders among the mayors in financial institutions. Quite fantastic, and it's always wonderful to stand and see in any audience that has to do with climate change, whether it is finance, whether it is a policy, whether it is cities, the ratio of men to women is a much healthier ratio, and we are committed to 50-50 participation, because that's the way society is going to move forward fastest. So thank you very much, and congratulations, Anne, for your Women for Climate initiative that I look forward to participating in tomorrow. And the fourth reason why I think that we are in the right path is because of the collaboration that we have already exercised and that we will continue to increase, because we are here not about collaborating, we are about radically collaborating. It is about radical collaboration, because that is the only way that we're going to be able to meet the targets that we have to meet. So, fantastic CDP report that has just come out on collaboration, proving based on data that those cities that collaborate are actually able to go further and faster. Cities that are collaborating with other cities, cities that are collaborating with businesses in their region, cities that are collaborating with national governments. All types of collaboration are definitely giving much, much better results and need to be augmented. So 4 clear reasons why I think we are on the right path. Now the question is that direction of travel fast enough? And that's where my no comes in. No, we are not advancing fast enough. And there is a clear reason for that, because the nations have agreed to 17 Sustainable Development Goals. But different to all of the other 16 Sustainable Development Goals, climate change has a physical limit inherent in it. It is the only Sustainable Development Goal, all of which will be participating, or all of which will be exemplified in cities. But climate is the only Sustainable Development Goal that has a physical limit and a physical timing attached to it. What I mean by that is that we do have a physical limit of how much pollution we can actually put into the atmosphere. Think of a bathtub. No matter how large your bathtub is, there is a physical limit to the bathtub. You can fill it and fill it and fill it, but there comes a point when you can no longer put any more water to it. That is the atmosphere. That is exactly the situation that we have with the atmosphere. We've already filled it 2/3 high. We only have 1 more third to go, not for the next year or 10 years or 100 years. We have 1/3 left to go for the rest of the existence of humanity on this planet, as long as we intend to stay on this planet. If we intend to leave, that's a different issue. But we have a physical limit that we have to respect. If we go over that limit, the insurance sector has already said we would be living in a world that is systemically uninsurable. So please, mayors, just think what you would do in a systemically uninsurable world in which you cannot get insurance for anything, personal, institutional, city-wise. There's just simply uninsurability at the systemic level. That is a world that we don't want to live in, and therefore I really would like to thank C40 for the fantastic report that you have delivered. Where is Mark? Thank you very much. That was absolutely brilliant, really brilliant, because what you have done is you have invited all of us to swallow the alarm clock and to understand that 2020 is the deadline. That is the deadline. We're not playing house anymore. Unfortunately, the Paris Agreement should have occurred 10 or 20 years before. But now we have it, and now we have 4 years to get to the point in which we must bend the emissions. So thank you very much. That was absolutely fantastic. And I think what is truly wonderful about that report, Mark, and C40 is that it, A, raises the voice of alarm, but also it is very, very encouraging because it proves that this is entirely possible. I want to remind you that 6 years before the Paris Agreement, when we left Copenhagen, nobody thought that a global agreement was possible. Now we have a global agreement. We're in that situation again. Perhaps many of you are sitting there going, there's no way we're going to bend the emissions by 2020. Well, guess what? It is possible, and we have to do it. We don't have another choice. So the Global Covenant that I am delighted to be joining today, the Global Covenant is going to be supporting that effort of the urgency with 2 things. We're going to be supporting with the discipline of measurement, and we're going to be supporting with the strength of achievement. What do I mean by that? We are going to be working with all cities, with all organizations of cities, certainly with C40, to be able to standardize the measurement that all cities across the entire global covenant, all 7,100 cities, will be using the same metric to be able to compare data and to be able to aggregate data so that we will be able to know, are we actually progressing, moving forward, or are we not? So I look forward to working with you on comparability and tracking and monitoring progress. That is the discipline of measurement. And we're also going to be working with you on the strength of achievement. I have just left my position in supporting national governments, and I can tell you that in 2018, governments have already committed, national governments, to come together to do a self-examination of how are they doing, in particular with respect to the target of 1.5 degrees. Here's the deal. By 2018, we have to prove that this is entirely possible. We have to prove that cities have actually already set the pace. And so we will be calling for a summit in 2018 where all cities will be invited, all corporations, investors, insurance companies, civil society, everyone to come forward together and with the strength of achievement be able to give an input to national governments to say, yes, we can, and national governments will be playing their part to stand on the achievement of all other stakeholders and take it further, but certainly not to go under the floor that will be set in 2018. So as a reference point for national governments, we will be working with all of you over the next 2 years. Now, my friends, after 6 years of directly supporting national governments, of opening the door to the participation of everyone else, including yourselves, but of directly supporting national governments for the negotiation of the legal framework, it is now only fitting that having finished that little task, which was necessary but clearly not sufficient, that I now turn my attention to the part which is the sufficiency part. And that is, now that we move on to implementation, it is only fitting that I turn my attention and my support to cities. Because while national governments have set the direction of travel, and that is irreversible, there is no doubt that it is the cities that will set the pace, and that is unstoppable. Thank you.